Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Living Astrology Radio with your host, Janet Hickox, human design consultant and intuitive astrologer. At Living Astrology, we are tapping into the wisdom of the cosmos to uplift, empower, and enlighten people to their personal genius. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology Radio. This is Janet Hickox, and I am accompanied today by my co-host, Jason Livanis, who is the tarot reader extraordinaire. He's in the middle of taking a phone call and will be joining us live here in the next few minutes. I just want to take a moment and welcome everybody to the show today. Sometimes astrology ends up being in the news. And so even though last week I had planned that we would be doing a show all about the new moon and all about the energies for October, they're going to take a very small piece of the show today, as there are some other things, interestingly enough, that have come up in the news around astrology. One thing being this whole furor of the black moon and black moon rising, I think is what we called it, and the fact that there was a 13th sign announced by NASA, presumably. And Jason is now live with me. Me? I'm speaking with myself.
Are you speaking with the world? You're speaking with the world? I'm sorry about that. I was screening some of your minions to get them in the queue for you. How are you this evening, my lady Janet?
I'm doing well, and how about you?
I am good. I have a trifecta for you today, so are you ready?
Well, I was just explaining to the listeners that even though last week the plan was the new moon and October energies, that there have been some intervening interesting things come up that we were going to focus our energies on today. So, let's start into our trifecta.
Yeah, all right. So I have two different elements that have blown up my email box to talk to you about. But before we do that, I first of all want to give a nod of love, reverence, and respect to all of those today that were in the debacle in Hoboken, New Jersey. I live not far from there. I took that train every day for 5 years, twice a day. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, which I've always wondered about, is, okay, how do we delineate and/or how do we look at a specific place and then say, you might not want to be there during a time of blah, 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 because it looks like this place is going to have some ugly stuff going on at this time and this time and this time. So if I was to say to you that Hoboken was an entity, how is it that you as an astrologer are able to look into the goings-on of that at a certain time? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And in fact, astrology often works really well in hindsight. You know how that saying, hindsight is 20/20. Well,
right.
It's often when something big happens in an area that we then can go and pull a chart on that city or that state, country, whatever it is, and we can see what astrological things were lining up to have provoked this or opened up the pathway to the actual event. But think about it. There's I don't know how many countries and cities in this world of ours. There's really no way to know ahead of time unless you say, "Oh, I'm going to be traveling to Honolulu, Hawaii in April, and tell me what the astrological weather is going to be." Then I could look it up ahead of time and tell you. So the best that we have as a tool is to look back and see what are we dealing with. And so, of course, I had to go and find out information on Hoboken. And what we would typically use as astrologers is its incorporation date, right? That's the date that it was born, if you will. The date that a city, a business, or even a state has an incorporation date. And if we have a time, great. If not, we always tend to use noon, and that puts the sun on the midheaven of the chart and gives us an idea of what energies, how the energies are scattered around throughout the chart. So as I looked at Hoboken's chart, which is always, like I said, this is 2020 hindsight. The one thing I see that really jumped out at me is that this is something that should have been taken care of already, right? That there's a sense of the chart that of history repeating itself and of things that were let go, lessons not learned, and then you get to pay the price. And the price, of course, comes in the third house of transportation, which is a Mercury-ruled house in the chart, not a home, a house. And what do we have traveling through there but Mercury in Hoboken's chart? And, Mercury's just come off of retrograde. We're not even done with the entire retrograde cycle until October 6th. And wasn't it just last week I was telling you in my own personal life?
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
La, la, la isn't going to work here. You got to hear. Because sometimes Mercury brings back things from the past. Remember last week we were talking about that remember I had this whole computer debacle. Hadn't realized over the intervening year that Beats audio was missing, and it suddenly shows back up when I fix the problem. There's a problem that's been brewing, right? And it's been brewing in the house of transportation. And today, the planet Mercury happened upon the prenatal lunar eclipse. Now, maybe most of the listeners don't. No, I mean, yes, I am for real. Wow. This is for real. Wow. I can't make up this stuff.
Yeah,
if I could,
you can't.
Yeah, this is just incredible when this happens, because there's four main things that I circled in this chart as I was just kind of preparing for the show today. One being Mercury had landed upon the lunar eclipse site, the prenatal lunar eclipse site for Hoboken, New Jersey. Lunar eclipse, the prenatal lunar eclipse, is always about what lessons are you going to learn. Right? It's what lessons are you here to learn? The lessons are in Virgo, and the lessons are in the transportation house. The lessons in Virgo are about minding the damn details, right? They knew long ago that there was this, they call it the positive train control system, that can help trains brake so that they're not, if there's a mechanical problem or if something happens with the conductor or the engineer, that there's a braking system as they move into the situation close into a terminal that the braking system can take over. And a lot of trains have already been outfitted with this. This particular train in this particular city, they've been putting this off, right? And now they're paying the price. I
have to tell you, that's a little creepy. No bullshit. That's a little creepy. And living near there, I always tell people, the one thing you should do is make sure you see the beautiful waiting room, because no joke, Janet. I mean, from a stylistic standpoint, it looks like something that was out of a Viennese period waltz. I mean, it's just this gorgeous, gorgeous waiting room with really very high ceilings, incredible entablatures, and marble, and a grand stairwell, and that is just, forget about the fact that we've lost people. I mean, yes, obviously I'm not making light of that, but I look at this beautiful architecture destroyed. The fact that Mercury was having this situation, the fact that it has to do with transportation, the winged messenger, and that these things were at play. These things were at play. I don't know what to say, because that's freaky, Now,
guess who else was in play? In play as well was Uranus. And Uranus is the higher echo, the higher what is musical scale? Help me here. Octave, the higher octave. There we go. Mercury is the lower octave. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and the city of Hoboken is having a Uranus return. Now that only happens once 84 years. So the fact that that would be happening today, or in this time now. Now, let me think about this, because, New Jersey itself may also be having something like this happening, because this isn't the first event this month in New Jersey, right? Wasn't there a bomb scare or something earlier in the month?
There was a bomb scare like a week or two, down at in Asbury. It was in Asbury Park. Well, it was down by Seaside Heights.
Right. So, there's something in the air with New Jersey itself, and I didn't have time to go looking up New Jersey.
Right.
But in this chart of Hoboken, Uranus is in return, which means that it's setting itself up for a new 84-year cycle. And, I mean, what are the odds that a planet that takes 84 years to go around the zodiac is going to be back at its natal position on the day that a train wreck happens? And literally, yeah, it is. It's a rebirth because Uranus is called the Great Awakener. So I think, you get the shakeup a couple of months back or a couple of years back where there was episodes of people having an illness. I think there was a guy that, an engineer that had a heart attack or stroke or something, and the train smashed into the station. And so you were awakened then to the potential problem and that it was time to implement this system. And they had plans to implement this system. I think it's supposed to be implemented by December, at the end of December of this year. I mean, that's like this timeline that they had. And
I'll tell you something. They should have consulted you, because I'll bet you there's not one other astrologer that is out there that is actually breaking it down like this. I will venture to say you are the first astrologer that is actually discussing this in astrological terms. And I think going forward it will be very interesting to bring into future shows. Hopefully it won't always be calamity. We can discuss something positive. But, I mean, it's a pretty incredible, insightful scenario to think, oh, wow, look at what's going on and look at what happened.
Right. And then there's also our friend Black Moon Lilith is moving through Scorpio right now. And the Black Moon Lilith brings us to our shadow self, right? She triggers events. Now, in a chart such as this, the moon represents the public, the people of Hoboken, the people of New Jersey. And the moon is in the fourth house, which is sort of a foundational security-oriented house. And we have the Black Moon Lilith that is right on top of the natal moon today. At the moment this was happening. And so what you see here is when the Black Moon Lilith is moving through Scorpio, it's all about loss, death, and rebirth, right? The whole potential for transformation. So, of course, unfortunately, the public has to take the hit. But maybe that's the case because the public hasn't been outcrying that they wanted this taken care of. And now, of course, you know, with social media, with people like you and I on the air talking about things like this, that the public awareness of the need for this positive train control system are going to be pretty high. And they're going to definitely want to take care of that.
All right, well, this is me rushing you along because I have two more points that I want to hit before we get to our callers. So my inbox is blown up today with something called Black Moon Rising. And then all week long, people are calling me, Jason, I've had my astrology wrong the entire time. I think I'm really the sign of Bophesius or whatever the hell they're calling it. And I'm trying to get people to calm down. So I would like to put to rest, two different subjects. Let us please start with the Black Moon Rising. Would you please tell me what that is and why we have nothing that needs to be discussed about it, please?
Yes, okay. So the Black Moon, other than being a part of a really wonderful song.
It sounds like people pulling their pants down in Harlem. Go ahead.
Okay,
you'll be hysterical.
That would not be it.
That later on.
The Black Moon Rising is really a term that's been given to a time in the astrological weather when there is a second new moon in the same calendar month. That is the down and dirty of it. There's nothing mysterious, full of mystique. There's no crashing catastrophe in the offing because of it.
So it's not a super moon. It doesn't have any particular astrological punch or worth.
No, not at all. It's simply that we had a new moon on September 1st, and now we have another new moon on September 30th, i.e. two new moons in the same calendar month. The second one is given the name the Black Moon Rising, apparently. Now, I had to go looking this up because I'd never heard that term. And so that's how little meaning it is in astrology, is that it's more of an astronomical sort of thing that happens. Now, it's fairly rare. The last time that there was a Black Moon Rising, if you will, was in March of 2014. And the next one won't be until 2019. So it's not like they happen every day.
Absolutely. And so the long and the short of it is that listeners out there, it has zero value other than the fact that it is the second what moon?
The second new moon in a calendar month.
Okay,
Now,
big deal.
we're more familiar with the blue moon, right? The blue moon
and
is the second full moon
and all
in a
that other
calendar
stuff.
month.
Right.
So,
Okay, now who is Boethius, and why do I care about him?
okay, first of all, you're you're butchering the name. His name is Ophiuchus.
Ophiuchus. It sounds like something that happens when you get a bad nasal infection. Oh, I've got Ophiuchus. Excuse me. Who is he?
No.
And why is this important? And why now is everybody blowing up the internet and, moreover, my email with this snake wrangler, which sounds dirty? And why should we not care a farthing for it?
We should care a farthing for it. Actually, this is an extraordinary topic, and one that I've grappled with myself personally for a couple of years now, in that what has happened, well, first of all, let me describe for you, the setting here is that we are on a planet and we have a sun, and that sun transcribes a path across the sky over the 365.5 days or 365.25 days, whatever it is that it takes to go around the solar system. As it's transiting through that's called the ecliptic plane, by the way, and it's along the ecliptic plane that the various constellations lie. So about, I'm going to say 5,000 years ago, the ecliptic plane started at 0 point, which in astrological terms was Aries, 0 point Aries, 0 degrees of Aries.
Makes
but
sense.
our Earth does not transit things herself in a normal pattern. We're canted in our orbit by 23.5 degrees. Canted, we're cattywampus, 23.5 degrees.
Okay.
And it's that 23.5 degrees that gives us what we call precession of the equinoxes. And that's a scary term, and it's very scientific. But essentially what it means is that the astrological new year, if you will, is moving backwards by 1 degree every 71 years. So at this point, over the course of 5,000 years, we have precessed by 36 degrees, which puts us out of the sign of Aries, backwards into Pisces. And now we're talking about ages, right? We're talking about ages here. So we have been in the age of Pisces simply because the precession of the equinoxes, meaning that the sun at the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, instead of occurring at 0 Aries when the astrological system was first put out there, it now rises in Pisces. And eventually, as another, several hundred years go by, it will precess backwards into Aquarius, thus the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
So we're not in the age of Aquarius.
No, not quite. Not by about 400 years, I think. But we're in the, when you're talking, an age is 26,500 years long, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm
when
not
you're
make
talking
it that
about,
long, Janet. I'm just not going to make it that long.
No, probably not. Probably not me either. But when you're talking about only 400 years shy or so of this time when the vernal equinox will rise at 30 degrees of Aquarius, thus the dawning of the age of Aquarius, it's a bullet burn, right? It's so close when you're talking about 26,500 years that a lot of people believe that this is the Aquarian age. But in point of fact, technically speaking, we are not in the age of Aquarius yet. Now,
I love you, but you lost me. So how does this have anything to do with this new sign?
Okay, just shut up and let me tell you. I would get there. I will get there.
All right, go for it.
I'm setting the stage because a lot of this all plays together in this grand scheme of things astrologically.
You haven't lost me yet. Okay. So we are in fact in the age of Pisces.
As we have been precessing or moving backwards, the very toe of the constellation Ophiuchus has come to be in the ecliptic plane, which means that for a period of time, every year, the sun is actually moving through the constellation of Ophiuchus.
Oh,
Now,
this finally makes sense.
Right, see, that did not happen up until about 1930-ish. Up until that time, we didn't know that the sun was moving through Ophiuchus. It was only moving through the 12 zodiacal signs that we knew of, right? But now, here we have this foot in the door, if you will, causing a disruption in our looking at the sky. So now when you and I look up at the sky at night, and we're trying to identify the fact that the sun is right now the sun is in Libra, but the sun is technically not in the sign of Libra. It's in the sign of Libra, but not the constellation of Libra, right? Because of this precession, we're actually we are lagging by 36 degrees or so, and that means that with the addition of this 13th sign, and the fact that we are no longer looking at the sign or the planets in the actual sign or the actual constellation, we have lost the connection between ourselves and the stars. Now, an astrologer will mostly tell you, well, we weren't looking at constellations anyways, right? We were only looking at the energies or the archetypes of the 12, right?
Right.
So they'll use it, I think, and I'm almost as guilty because I haven't changed the way I do things yet, but they'll look at it as if it never happened, almost, right? There's no way that the sun's moving through Ophiuchus. Even though it's moving through the constellation of Ophiuchus, they've yet to separate it from the sign of Scorpio. Ophiuchus technically is sitting right between the sign of Scorpio and the sign of Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, okay.
Right.
Right at the midheaven, is that correct?
No. It's not in the midheaven. It's actually in the 8th house, right? That's the part that that the sign rules.
Okay.
But it's an interesting place because the 8th house speaks to transformation, right? And here we are slow to transform what we know to be actually the correct thing. So I'm looking to see, so Ophiuchus is actually where the sun is sitting from November 30th to December 17th for 18 days. Now, those 18 days are cut right out of Scorpio. So that means the sun is moving quicker through Scorpio these days and spending more time in Ophiuchus, and then moves on to Sagittarius. So we're squeezing it in there. And that has sort of taken all of our signs and shifted them. So, for example, I'm going to look at my own birth date. I was born on June 19th. That's squarely a Gemini. But now I'm on the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. I'm on the last day of Taurus. Now you're January 13th, correct?
13th, right.
So you are now the new Sagittarius, right? Because the new Sagittarius is from December 18th to January 18th.
Oh.
Now, astrologically speaking, this was kind of an interesting thing anyway, because what we've done in the astrology chart is given 30 degrees to each sign, right? There's 30 degrees of all the signs. Right. Well, we can't give a 13th sign 30 degrees. So if we are going to include Ophiuchus in this conversation, then we have to change the zodiac. There's only 360 degrees in a circle.
Right. So we have to steal equidistantly from each one of the others?
No, but technically speaking, what's occurred is that some of the constellations are wider or longer, if you will, and so the sun spends more time going through those signs than it spends going through other signs. So we would have to, and what this has actually done by this new dates of everybody's signs is it's attributed the correct number of degrees that the sun spends in that sign, so that we can fit that 13th sign in. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does. I won't say that it's the easiest thing to comprehend because I think like a pictogram would make more sense. So the long and the short of it is that at the end of the day, before we get to our callers, is how does it affect us?
Well, for the most part, I would say that we are in a crossover time, let's call it, or
Okay.
a paradigm change where we're going to at some point have to enter this into the actual conversation because people are evolving. And if we don't evolve as astrologers, then we are actually relegating this science back to pseudoscience. And we're actually taking it backwards in time to a point where it doesn't have any validity. So we're going to have to do something at some point to bring this in.
But let me take it one step further. So theoretically speaking, if we in fact evolve with this new science, will it mean, like for instance, how you said to me, Jason, you're going to be the new Sagittarian? Will that mean in fact that I am no longer Capricorn, that I am in fact Sagittarian?
Yeah, exactly. But you will retain some of your Capricorn traits, right? Because you were born. See, this is where things get really tricky. I mean, were you really born a Sagittarian? But you've had these Capricorn traits assigned to you via an outdated system. I don't know what the actual answer is.
Well, what I would like to do at some point when we're off the air for and giggles. I'd love to do it as if I was this new Sagittarian and see what we come up with and see what rings true. And you and I can maybe come up with another perhaps program on that where we take individuals and we say, okay, well, listen, if you were the new this, then this and this and this is happening, and what do you think about that? I think it might be a fascinating thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you for hitting me, though, on those three topics, because I think it's important for people to know that the black moon rising is pupukaka. We don't have to worry about it. It's interesting to know that a place like Hoboken can have a living, breathing sort of entity-like astrological scenario happen. And then this Ophiuchus, however you pronounce it, is Ophiuchus. I have to think of like fuchsia. Ophiuchus is actually a real thing that we're going to have to modulate with, perhaps as time goes on. I think it's fascinating, Janet. That being said, did you want to hit anything else before we go to our readers, our listeners, rather?
Yeah, two things I want to hit. One, because you've been this Capricorn and now you're going to become a Caprisagian. And you are a tarot. I know it does. Some of them sound really kind of funny. The tarot card.
A Caprisagian.
A Caprisagian. The tarot card that was associated with you as a Capricorn was the devil, right? And now the new Capricorn will be temperance. So I don't know how that plays in, because you're a tarot card reader, so you might understand, how one fit and now how this new one might fit in with you.
It's interesting because I'm going to have to think about that. I'm not going to just propose to no, because I very much my whole life have identified with this card, and I think there's some emotion attached to it. I mean, for instance, you told me about the Mayan animal calendar that I have, which is the owl and or death, the transformer. So it makes sense that the card goes with it. I won't lie. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, think about that one. Now, I want to say, too, about this whole thing about Ophiuchus. This is a story that has been recirculated because CNN first announced that there was going to be a 13th sign on January 20th of 1995. So this is not a new story. But you know how social media is, right? We take things and we dust them off and we bring them back out at specific times, or I don't know that the people who redo these stories know what they're doing, but there's, usually a Plutoan connection when things like this get brought back out. And the mythology of Ophiuchus is really fascinating in that, he was called the serpent holder. And in fact, the constellation itself, he's holding a serpent, which is where...
he's the serpent holder. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Ophiuchus is derived from the Greek word for serpent holder. The ancient Greeks considered Ophiuchus to be the image of Asclepius, which was a healer. He was the son of the gods Apollo and Coronis, And he was raised by the wise centaur Chiron. Now, where have we heard of Chiron? 1978. Chiron, the wounded healer, bursts onto the scene as a new planet. And now we have to add Chiron in, which, of course, astrologers were slow to do. But we have to add this new archetype into our vernacular. And Ophiuchus comes right along with this because Chiron taught the boy Ophiuchus about botany and medicine and healing.
Yes.
And
dendrology. Yes.
All of these different things. And so one day while he was at a friend's house, Asclepius kills a snake. And then he watched in astonishment when a companion snake slithered into the room with a particular herb in its mouth and restored the slain snake to life. Recognizing the plant, Asclepius soon learned to use its mystical powers to heal the sick and resurrect the dead. So it's from this whole legend of healing and resurrection, rebirth, that the serpent becomes the symbol of healing, right? But then what happens, right? Asclepius, the first doctor, if you will, sails off on the voyage of the Argonauts in search of the golden fleece, right? He becomes a gifted healer. But the gods did not like this. Pluto, the god of Hades, said, whoa, wait a minute, Zeus. If this Asclepius can go around, and Ophiuchus, or whatever they want to call him, if he can go around healing people from death, then, quickly hell is going to empty out. There's not going to be anybody in the underworld left for me to play with. So they took his healing powers away from him, right? So they didn't take his powers away from him. They killed him. Literally a lightning bolt, thunderbolt that ended his life on Earth. But because Apollo, who was Ophiuchus' father, he protested to Zeus, then they ended up making him a great physician and gave him a place amongst the stars. So isn't it appropriate then that Pluto, the planet of transformation, transforms the zodiac in another way, right? Because he's already transformed the zodiac by becoming a minor planet, a dwarf planet. We've relegated him to dwarf status. But he was also key in the transformation of this whole idea of Ophiuchus and rising with the dead, or being able to heal, from death. So there's something here.
When you think of Orpheus in the underworld, I think it's a derivative of that because he basically took Eurydice out of hell. It's pretty fascinating stuff, Janet. I won't lie.
It really is
incredible to hear these stories. And who knows, perhaps we can do maybe a more extended situation, like I said, on this particular sign at a later date. But for right now, I have Renee on the line who is just dying to talk to you. So I'm going to bring Renee in, and I'm going to go into the background. And Renee is a dear friend of mine, and she's called in because she would like some clarity with some things in her life.
Okay. Hello, Renee.
Hi, Janet.
How are you today?
I'm very well. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. So now tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life, Renee, or what it is that you would like me to look at in your chart today.
I've been having some health issues for a few years, and doctors can't seem to find out really what's going on. I have a lot of symptoms, and it's really bringing me down spiritually and physically and mentally and emotionally, and I just want some clarity if I can on, what's going on with my health.
Well, assuming that I have the right time of birth and the right date and everything looks right based on what Jason gave me for you, then this is sort of an interesting story for you because the planet Neptune has been moving through your sixth house, which is the house of health. It's the house of the physical body. And Neptune is one of those planets that is hard to pin down. It's very nebulous, if you will. And so it's not surprising to me that you are not able, or your doctors are not able to pinpoint what's going on with you because Neptune's in the mix, right? Anytime we put Neptune in the mix, there is unclarity, there is confusion, there is sort of, ether. It rules ether. And ether is sort of this spirit, and you can't pin down spirit. How do you pin down the air, right? So
exactly.
So I have to look at a different spot here for you. So number one, the fact is your health house is in a good shape. You're not meant to be ill. There's no reason for anything here to be affecting your physical body. Neptune is at the last degree of your sixth house. It will move off into the seventh house, which is a house of relationships. So your health is about to take a clearing here from that planet. And then there's not another planet coming through there except for the inner planets, which might, cause, temporary issues to crop up over the next several years. But the interesting thing about it is that the sixth house, the entryway into your sixth house, is in the sign of Aquarius. And that is where your south node is. Now, the south node in an astrology chart represents your karma. It is you could think of it as the cup of goodies that you brought with you into this life. Your experiences. Yeah, it could be goodies like the jewels, all the things you've learned, the compilation of all the experiences you've had in all of your previous lifetimes. You bring them with you into this lifetime. And in that case, in Aquarius, then what you also brought with you was a need to reclaim your power, because powerlessness is an issue here for you. And let's talk about power for a minute, because people think power is about, having the ability to overcome somebody else or, to be better than someone else. And that's a very egoic way of looking at power. When I'm talking about power, I'm talking about you claiming your own self, claiming who you are, and claiming, in this case, your own health, right? Because it's in your sixth house of health. And that means that what we can look at then is that a lot of your health problems have a much more etheric beginning than an actual physical one. Does that make any sense to you, or do I need to describe what etheric means for you?
Yes, makes perfect sense.
Okay. So in other words, then don't look to the body. The body is only showing you the out picture of what's been going on within you. And there's a lot going on within you. Number one, powerlessness is one of those things that is a lifelong process. This is you probably coming out of a previous lifetime with relatively little power. For however, and I can't just go and look at it right now and say, okay, your last life ended, with being hung as a witch and all your power was gone. That's not what I can't really look at that. There are people that could. There are people that could. But if you die in a previous life, right, with no power, so what are you coming into this life? Well, you have to reclaim your power. So that's a process, and it will probably be a lifelong process. Now, how do you reclaim your power? Well, you're going to have to reclaim your power through the opposite point, which is Leo. So you come to the planet as a Leo, you come to the planet with your Mercury in Leo, you come to the planet with your destiny in Leo, and all the lessons that you're here to learn and the things that you're here to teach come across that Leo-Aquarius axis. So you are here, my girl, to do what you want to do with your life. You are very heart-centered in your orientation to what you're here to do. So this always sounds so easy when I say these words, it sounds so easy. Do what your heart tells you to do. In practice, it's very difficult to do this. My own destiny sits at 29 degrees of Leo, which is funny because that's exactly where your sun sits. And so I'm very familiar with this energy of being told, go out and do what your heart's desire is, and then me going, whoa, wait a minute. If I had my druthers, I would be just, cultivating a field of sunflowers. I wouldn't do anything. No, I really love astrology and I'm doing what I love. But how many years did it take me to get to this point where I just say, screw you all, I'm just going to go out here and do what I love? Now I really love the fact that when my kids' friends ask me, well, what does your mom do? They tell her, oh, she's an astrologer, which is so unique and awesome, right? So what is it for you, Renee, that you want to be unique and awesome in, right? It could be healing. It could be anything. What if you wanted to be an exotic dancer? My granddaughter, when she was 5 years old, wanted to announce to her dad that she wanted to be a pole dancer when she grew up.
Oh, my God. And you know what's funny? You know what's funny, Janet, is I will send you a picture of Renee at some point. And if you saw her, she looks like a goddess. I mean, she's got literally a Brigitte Bardot physique with just incredible crystal blue eyes, literally like a pinup model. And so it's funny that you say that because she's exhaustic with a small waist and big hips. So the fact that you say that makes me laugh.
Nice. Well, my whole point in saying that to you, Renee, isn't, to be hideous or hysterical, but it is to prove a point here that you are really here to do whatever it is that your heart desires. And if you're in any situation or if you are living your life on based on what other people want from you or want you to do, then you need to change that immediately because as you can see, you're only, how old are you? 30?
36?
No. Yeah. So you're 36 years old, and if you're not living your life on your own terms, your body's taking a toll already. And what's going to happen 20 years from now, right? When you're 56, the body's really resilient until you've done too much ignoring of what its symptoms are trying to tell you. So get back in alignment with your heart. What is it you really want to be doing with your life? Now I'm going to tell you there's going to be some fear that comes up with this. It's a natural part of the placement of all these planets in your 12th house. It's about fear. And what you're going to find too is that you are in a prison of your own making, right? A prison of your own making. You hold the key. Unlock it, let yourself out, and go out into the world. Tell everybody else to get the F out of your way and just do what it is that you're here to do, okay? You don't need to be beholden to anybody else here. Wow. And someday, I really want you to hit up my website because I really wanted to be able to get your human design chart up, but I didn't have enough time. So, Jason,
we will do that. I'll make sure it happens.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that we can get you your human design chart because that's going to tell you how you make decisions. And one last thing before we go on to someone else here is that your Chiron, which is the healing point, your healing journey is in Taurus. It's about prosperity thinking. It's about getting out of your own way and getting into the flow of the abundance of this planet. So that's a subject for a whole nother day, but is also something that is coming up in your energy signature over the next few weeks. So don't be afraid. Go out and do what you need to do. Follow your heart, and it will not lead you astray, I swear. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Renee, I'm going to put you back in the queue so you can hear the rest of the show. All right, sweetheart?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee. You're most welcome, dear.
Okay, I believe I have Lily on the line for you, and then we can get to Leah Marie, depending if we have time, okay? I'm bringing Lily into you now.
Lily?
Hi, Lily.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
How are you tonight?
Buongiorno. I'm doing fabulous. I'm really feeling this shift, and I made up my mind, and I want to see what my chart has to say regarding my health, but in the sense of I'm going to be challenging myself physically as a health coach and fitness instructor.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think if a fitness instructor is a teacher, and that is perfect for you as your natal Mercury sits in the 6th house of health, and the body, but Mercury is also the teacher, the speaker. You're someone who can speak to the relative health of the body. But you can also do this from a compassionate point of view, as in perhaps at some point you've suffered through your own issues around this subject and you were able to push yourself through whatever it was that was good health, and you come out at the other end. And so now you're here to be able to help others to push through whatever has been limiting them in their health and let them become healthy as well. And this is all a part of your healing journey, as in the transiting Chiron for you you've just had a Chiron return. You turned 50, a year ago, last year?
Yes.
And so you were in your Chiron return. Your Chiron by birth sat very close to the 6th house, but it was technically speaking in the 5th house. And in the 5th house, we have to take some risks. So I'm betting that there was a risk that you took in doing this, right? That either you said to yourself, it's time to get busy, get healthy, and throw yourself out there into a world doing something that maybe you've not done in the past, and having the courage that it takes to be able to do that. And that's all these fifth house issues that, you have been through. Now, you still have Neptune coming through the fifth house, by the way. It is today Neptune is sitting at 9 degrees of Pisces, so it's sitting on top of your transiting Neptune is sitting on top of your natal Saturn. And that can make for some, let's do this. Saturn loves structure and form and boundaries, and Neptune is nothing like that. No boundaries. It's boundaryless. It is formless. It is ether. So you have kind of these two things battling for attention right now. And at the opposite end of all of that energy is the need for you to clear some unconscious patterning or some old beliefs, or even better, how about getting clear where you want to go and claiming it, right? Being authentic and, just claiming who you want to be in the world. So I think you have this healing journey underway, and it will be, the planet Chiron, by the way, will be in this part of your chart for many years, 7 to 8 maybe 9 even, because it still has a little bit of Aries it'll have to go through. And that gives you some really interesting energy for the foreseeable future, in that it gives you health. It confers health upon your own body, but also helps you help others through a healing journey. Does that make sense?
I am a nurse also, so I think everything that you had said about the healing and learning to heal myself, I completely understand. I am worried about the financial means of me starting being self-employed. I don't want this to be an extreme burden on my husband or my children, one in college. So.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing that you have to do then, that you have to go out there and know that you're doing the right thing, that this is the right thing for you, this is the right thing for your family, and you have to stay out of fear. You cannot allow yourself to go into that fear zone of, what if this doesn't work? In human design, I tell people very often, your job is to say what it is that you want. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? That's your job. It is the universe's job to bring you the how that is going to happen. So you stay into the what. What do you want? You want to be a health fitness trainer, or whatever you said
a coach,
you want it to be, a coach. Yeah. And so that's what you do, right? That's where you stay. You stay in all of the energies that feel good about being that. And what do you do every day, and how does it make you feel when you're doing it, and how does it make you feel when you see when what you've done with someone has taken them on a healing journey? In a way, you're Chiron, right? You're on the healing journey.
Yes.
You're embodying Chiron, because Chiron was conjunct your sun when you were born. So you're embodying this whole thing. You've seen both sides of health, by the way. As a nurse, you've seen Western medicine, and now you're looking at a more open, alternative style to healing, right? That begins with taking control of your body.
I do have a degree in Western medicine, but I also have a degree in Eastern medicine, so I wish to apply that. Okay.
Right.
And as far as applying it, I've already had clients who, many of them have been on depression medication, and none of them, because of the financial means, it's very difficult to go organic. But this one gal insisted on trying it, and now, just out there, folks, she has gotten off of her medication and is only taking 1 pill from the 12 pills that she was taking earlier.
That is amazing.
I would love to pipe in real quick here, if you wouldn't mind.
No, Go ahead.
I pulled 3 cards on you, sweetness, and I have to tell you something. I don't know what you're second guessing. I need you to be a little British here and give it the old stiff upper lip, because the cards I pulled on you, I mean this, the cards I pulled on you are balance. The first one is balance, the Eastern and Western medicine, the fact that you're grounded. The next one was the 3 of Cups, talking about you touching other people, community, how important it is that you do what you do. And the last card that I picked was the 4 of Cups. It has to do with Jesus Christ, Buddha, the great healer. It has to do with past lifetime / what you are karmically supposed to be doing. So far as I am concerned, there is no question, no doubt in my mind that you need to go forward boldly. Stop with the anxiety. Stop with the insanity that you won't make it. There won't be enough money. All of that will be put in your past. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm grinning from ear to ear. I can't smile any larger. Thank you.
I mean this. What Janet is telling you, when I talk with Janet is very much good cop. I'm bad cop. I'm going to tell you to shit or get off the pot. And the fact of the matter is I need you to get off the pot. Okay.
No, I love that kind of straightforward talk.
Okay, I mean that. And Janet, we have about 10 minutes left, so unless Lily, you have any other questions?
No.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm going to put you back into the queue, Lily, and I have a lady for you by the name of Leah Marie I'm going to be bringing in for you now.
Okay.
So, Janet, I believe I gave you her deets. You have them?
I do. Let's see. They're going to be on a screen that I'm not in. Let me see. Leah Marie. Okay. So.
All right. Hi, Leah Marie. It's Jason.
Hi. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We have about 8 minutes left, so if at some point I cut you all off, nothing personal. But Janet.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just kidding.
Hi, Leah. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I'm just quickly entering you into my astrology program here. So while I'm doing that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what your question is today?
Okay, so I've recently relocated from New Jersey to Arkansas with my husband, whom I've moved with in the past, but now we have 2 young children, away from family for the first time, especially, like I said, with 2 young children. They say it takes a village, but I don't have one. And I also struggle with anxiety, which I'm medicated for, and I also struggle with alcohol abuse. So mentally and physically, I'm not at the best place right now.
Okay.
I just want to know what you feel in reference to what the near future is going to bring, because I'm not unhappy, but I could be happier and healthier.
Very good. Very good. So number one, it is not unusual for Pisceans, and you're a Piscean, to have issues with alcohol or drugs or gambling or sex or anything else that kind of dulls the pain. Because you, my Pisces friend, are extraordinarily compassionate and loving-hearted and very sensitive. And so Pisceans often have this, and by the way, it's not all Pisceans, but when I'm going to find somebody that has this issue, it's often Pisces or Pisces rising. And what happens is that the real world for them is so harsh, seemingly so harsh.
And I'm Pisces rising, so I hear everything you're saying.
Yes,
I was
there
like,
you
go
go.
ahead, sweetheart. I get you completely.
Don't cut me off. I need help, so go ahead. Keep going.
He's not going to cut you off. And so where Pisces is in your chart is an interesting place, because it's going to tell me a lot about the story of you. And right now in Pisces, we have the planet Neptune transiting through there, as well as Chiron, the healing guy, right? So we have this healing journey that's being enacted. We have a planet that makes things very hard to see clearly. And I'm going to tell you what you need to do is find more joy in your life. You need to start doing what you love to do, because that's the whole problem, right? Is that you've been molded to maybe believe only certain avenues are open to you, whether it's because of a financial concern or where you've been born or what race you are or the fact you're a woman. None of that is the truth. All of that is sort of what do they call that? A false flag operation that's been run on you, right? So you're here to have fun. You're here to play. You're here to create and to be joyful, to have children and play with children, to react childlike with everything in the world. You're meant to be greeting the world in that childlike fashion, which is wide-eyed with wonder.
For 15 years, by the way. I was a special ed teacher for 15 years. Now I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So that is my life. With only my babies.
So your 2-year-old and your 4-year-old are showing you the way because they don't know anything but play. Right? That's what they are. They're play, and they're creative, and they're full of fun, and that's child energy, and that's where the sun was for you. It is also your primary lesson that you're learning in this life. Your prenatal lunar eclipse was in the 5th house in Pisces. So to me, that speaks to someone extraordinarily creative within you. And I don't know what work you've done out in the world, but if it wasn't of a creative nature, and by the way, business can be extraordinarily creative too, right? So the whole
I was
idea
actually a special ed teacher. I taught special ed for 15 years. That's what I did.
Okay, and you're not doing that now just because you have kids, right? You've got young kids at home.
Thanks. I live in a different state, and it's not as feasible here.
But there's going to be a way for you to find your way through this, because I think what your best route forward, if you will do this, you will be so amazed at how this will change your life. Number one, I want you to go back 12 years. Go back to 2004, 2005. If you were born in 1980, you were relatively young then, right? So in your 20s. So go back then. And I want you to see where life took a turn there and may have, beat you up a bit. And then I want you to go through what beliefs you have, what patterns that you have now in your life because of what might have happened then. And I want you then to understand that those are patterns and things those are choices you make, right? The beliefs and the patterns and the things that you've taken on as limitations, those are all fears. And I call those the kind that are called false evidence appearing real. They're not real, right? They're only, it's almost like you put the lock and key on and then you put the key around your neck, but you can't remember where you put the key. It's like when you have glasses on your head and you're running around the house looking for them and you can't find them. And that's because they're on your head. It's very obviously in your face what you need. And the need here is for you to relax and let yourself out of the prison. All right, that's the number one thing that you could do for yourself right now that will change your life. Look within. Where did these patterns develop? Where did the real life become so harsh that you turned to a substance that would sort of take that away from you, right? Where you would escape it, right? And you may have to go back to another 12-year period. So you may have to go back 12 years and 24 years until you get to the gist of it. But it's a useful job for you to do.
Lee Marie, I picked 2 cards while you all were talking because the question I asked myself was, what could I tell her to give her a concrete thing to do? And I have to tell you, I only picked 2 cards. The cards that came out were almost in complete alignment with what Janet is telling you. The first card that comes out is the 3 of Wands. And it has a man in meditation. And it very quite clearly screams to the person that I'm talking to, you need to get quiet, go within, and meditate. Now, if you're like me, the idea of meditation really, it just sends me screaming into the woods because of the way in which my brain works. I have dealt with anxiety my whole life, and I could write a book on it. And the only thing that has saved me, that's given me a toehold into the world, has been meditation, whatever that might mean, doing something that is meditative. But the card that I pulled after it is emergence, l'emergence. And I tell you something, if you actually quiet yourself down and look within, I promise you, you're going to emerge. You're going to get to the next level. And it's exactly in alignment with what Janet is speaking about. So those are the 2 cards that came up immediately for you when I picked them.
Thank you, Jason.
So,
absolutely.
Again, look back at 2004 and also look back at 1992 because that would have been when you were age 12, and some of the issues that you're experiencing now may have begun then. Okay?
Yeah, that means a lot to me. Thank you.
All right. So if you need more help, if you need more help, you know where to find us, right? So
okay, yeah.
You can contact me personally at Janet at living-astrology.com. And living-astrology.com is my website. And then Jason, give your information, Jason.
Zen Staging, one word, at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. That's going to have to be the final word. We are out of time for today. Join us again next week, and we will talk about some other fundamentally astrological topic. Until then,
you, Janet, and I'll talk to you later.
Love you too, Jason. Have a stellar week, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on Living Astrology. Living Astrology is part of the Empower You Media Network. You can find out more by going to www.living-astrology.com or by going to www.empoweryoumedia.com. If you would like to find out when our shows are airing, you can follow us at Blog Talk Radio under Living Astrology. Please consider liking us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Living Astrology and also Empower You Media. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now. Have a stellar week.